Here's a quick table of contents for this class. First, we will discuss materials. I will then take you through the tools list. Before we begin knotting, I will show you the types of knots we are going to be using in this class. We're going to start the project by tying the base. I will then show you how to add the decorations, how to tie the neck piece, and lastly how to finish off. Let's go through the materials you will be needing for this project. Here's a short list of materials you will be needing for this class. If you wish to print out the materials list, go to the bottom of the page and click on the Materials tab. For this class, I will be using 0.85mm thick tire wax cord, but any cord no thicker than this will work just as well. For the cabochon, it's best to have a more or less similar size stone, but the important part really is that you are able to tie the wrap with the same amount of knots that are specified in the class. You could use a bigger stone with a thicker cord. The scale will just have moved up, but the end result is the same. I will be going into more detail on where to source materials in the following pages. I will be using 0.85mm tie wax cord for this project, but any cord no thicker than 1mm will work as well if you do not have the size cord available. Though you will have to use bigger seed beads, as the 11-odd 2mm beads will not fit on anything with a thicker diameter than 0.85mm. Some cord examples and places where you can purchase them are shown below. Waxed cord, such as tie wax cord, satinil and linhasita, work best for this type of project. Here are some examples of the same pattern tied with different types of cord. The first earring was made using Chinese cotton waxed cord, which is the thickest amongst the cords shown here. Only 6-odd seed beads will fit for a pattern that calls for double-threaded sections. The second earring was made using Tex 400 Ceylon cord. This is a little thinner than Chinese wax cord, but the same rules for beads apply. You could use the Ceylon beading cord, which is very fine and only measures 0.5mm thick. This cord is not listed here, but it is an option. The third earring was made with linhasita, which is just about the same thickness as Tex 400 Ceylon cord, and beads fit the same way. Lastly, my favorite cord, the tie wax cord. This is the thinnest shown on this page and is 0.85mm thick. You can use 8-odd seed beads comfortably in sections of patterns that require you to pass cords through the same bead twice. If you do not want to have to worry about material sourcing, I do offer DIY kits for some of my patterns. You can find them in my Etsy shop. Whilst some check beads are of good quality, I tend to veer towards using Japanese Toho seed beads for my projects, as they are very uniform and have a larger hole diameter, which allows for more cords to pass through. You can find Japanese Toho beads in the following links below. It is often difficult to find cabochons that are the same size as the one in the project you are trying to duplicate. And for this reason, I have been researching possible sources for cabochons. I was very pleased when I came across the sellers listed below. I now mainly buy my stones from one of the Hong Kong suppliers unless I want to use a different type of gemstone that is not available from them. There is a great variety in shapes, sizes and types. And the stones are exactly the size as advertised, which makes it really easy to reproduce a pattern. And more importantly, it makes it possible for my students to have exactly the same size stone as the tutorial. You will have to wait a week or two for the stones to arrive if you buy from the Hong Kong supplier. I have used stones from this seller for this class. If you don't want to wait, you can purchase stones from the US or UK sellers I have listed below, but the sizes might not match exactly. In this section, I have covered the tools you will need. You will need some sort of surface that will allow you to hold down your work. Don't worry if you don't have a proper macrame board, an ordinary clipboard will work just as well. I really like to use cake foam. It really works well for me because it offers a firm surface to work with while allowing me to pin down my work at the same time. You will need some pins if you're using a foam surface. You will need a needle. This is not really necessary, but I really like to have one on hand because I find it useful to help me undo bad knots. You will need a good pair of scissors to cut your cord. I really like to have a smaller pair of scissors because sometimes the cords at the end of projects can be quite hard to reach. You will need a measuring tape to measure your cords, a pair of long nose pliers for the findings. Sometimes, but not always, I find it useful to have a wire bending pair of pliers on hand for the findings again. If you're using cord that does not have any wax content, you will need to use some sort of glue to finish off the ends. For this purpose, I really like to use hypo cement because it works quite well. If you're using cord with wax content, you should have a good lighter to finish off the ends. I like to number the cords for my tutorials, as this is a good way to keep track of them and can help to avoid confusion. The cord's positions are numbered from left to right. In this example, we have cord positions 1 to 4, not counting the mounting cord at the top. The positions always remain the same, while the cords switch their position as they are knotted. For instance, what is cord 1 before knotting has become cord 4 after knotting, and what was cord 4 has now become cord 1. On this page I have compiled a short list of terms and abbreviations that I like to use during my tutorials to make them easier to follow. I will be abbreviating the name of the knots in the instructions, and you can use this page for reference. Before we begin the actual project, I will quickly take you through the knots we are going to be using during the course of this class. In this class, we are going to be using two ways of tying a lark's head knot. The first is used to attach your cords to objects or other cords, and the second is often used to finish off your ends and attaching your cords to a jump ring or another object. This is a lark's head knot. It's often used to mount your cords at the beginning of a project. To tie a lark's head knot, double up your cord and slide the end with a loop under your holding cord from top to bottom. Feed the two loose ends through the loop. And lastly, pull tight. This is another variation of the lark's head knot. We are going to be using this variation to attach a jump ring and findings at the end of our project. To tie this variation, loop your cord over, then under the jump ring, bringing the tail end over through the left. Next, feed the end under and then up through the jump ring. Next, feed that end through the small loop at the top. And finally, pull tight. I will show you how to tie double half hitches, which are the main knots used in this tutorial. The main knots you're going to be using in this tutorial are left or right double half hitches. These are also knots which are used in many other macrame projects. To tie a left double half hitch, which is tied from left to right, you will have to attach your working cord, which is the cord you are knotting with, to your holding cord, which is the cord you are knotting to. To do this, feed your working cord underneath your holding cord, then loop it over and feed the tail end of your working cord through the small loop on the left. Once you have done this, pull everything tight. To complete the knot, loop your working cord once more over your holding cord and again feed the tail end through the small loop on the left and finally pull tight. This is a complete left double half hitch. To tie a right double half hitch, the procedure is exactly the same as with a left double half hitch. The only difference here is that the tail end of your working cord will feed through a small loop on the right instead of a small loop on the left. Once you have created the loop and pulled your cord tight, repeat the procedure and remember that your tail end this time will also feed out onto the right. Here we'll show you how to tie a spiral knot and a spiral knot column. To tie a spiral knot column, fold cord 1 over cords 2 and 3 to create a shape that looks like a 4. Fold cord 4 first over cord 1, then feed it under cords 1, 3 and 2 and up through the loop, and finally pull tight. Simply repeat this step until the desired length is reached. Repeat these steps until the desired length is reached. In this section, I will show you how to bezel your stone. Lay out cords A side by side. To gauge the width needed for the bezel, we will need to place our stone in between the two cords. Now, double over cord B at quarter point and attach it to the right-hand cord A with a left vertical lark's head knot. Make sure that the longer end is nearest to you as you're going to be knotting with it. This is because we are going to use up most of the cord knotting the ladder, and this ensures the cord ends are more or less the same length once the ladder is complete. Pull this lark's head knot tight. We now need to attach the second half of cord B to our first cord A. We are now going to tie a right vertical lark's head knot, which is exactly the same as a left vertical lark's head knot. The only difference there is that the cord of a right vertical lark's head knot terminates towards the right, and the cord of a left vertical lark's head knot obviously then terminates towards the left. Now pull this lark's head knot tight. Alternate knotting left and right vertical lark's head knots between the two cords until the required length is reached. It is better to make the ladder slightly longer than the circumference of the stone, as the knots can always be compressed if there are too many. But it is difficult to fill a gap if there are not enough knots to go around the stone, and the result can be unsightly and hard to fix. Once the ladder is complete, each knot represents what I call a rung, and each rung has 2 cords. At a later stage, we are going to add cords to some of those rungs, and you must ensure to add the new cords to 2 cords at a time. Wrap your bezel around your stone and tie the bottom cords A together using an overhand knot. Tie another overhand knot and pull tight. I also refer to this as a double overhand knot because we are repeating it twice. Repeat this step with the top cords A. Once you have pulled everything tight and you are happy that the stone is wrapped tightly, you are now ready to add cords to your rungs. For now, we're going to set this stone aside and begin with the project. Let's begin by knotting the fill, which is the section that goes around the stone before we add the decorations. Prepare the stone and bezel it using the knotting guide at the beginning of the tutorial. Make 26 rungs. Next, take a cord C and fold it in half and thread the 2 ends onto a needle. Feed the 2 cords through the first rung. Be sure to attach the cord to the 2 cords that make up each rung. Tie a lark's head knot with cord C. Attach all cords C, 3 on the left and 3 on the right of the knot that ties off the bezel, and then all 20 cords D in between. Once you have attached all of your cords, you should have 58 working cords in total. Flip over your stone and trim off the 2 ends of the cord that was used to tie the ladder, which was cord A. Now left with 56 cords, set aside the 4 brown cords that tie off the bezel. Take one of your cords E and begin to tie the first row around the stone by tying cord 1 to cord E with a left double half hitch. Remember that we have set aside 4 cords and cord 1 is the first cord to the left of the stone. Right, so we are now going to tie the first row around the stone. So we're going to do this by setting aside the 4 bezel cords that are used to tie off the bezel. We don't need them for now. So these are the top 2 cords that tie off the bezel. and at the back are the two cords that tie off the bezel as well from the back. Remember, we don't use the two cords that tie the leather of the bezel because they are a different color and we don't want to use them in this project. All right, so secure your stone so it does not move around while you knot. Set aside the 4 cords of the bezel and begin by knotting the first cord to your left, the first attached cord to your stone to the left, and attach it to your holding cord with a left double half hitch. The first knot is always a little more difficult to tie because there are no other knots to give it stability, so it's quite important to be precise. And tie a half hitch to finish off the knot. Pull tight gently. That's the first knot completed. And the second knot already is a lot easier. Another half hitch to complete the knot. And just continue and tie all of the cords attached to the stone until you have come full circle. Stop when you have reached the bezel cords. Right, now you have 4 cords left to tie, 2 at the top and 2 at the back of the stone. So now if your bezel has loosened while you were knotting the initial row, you are now able to readjust it before continuing. Right, pull tight a little as necessary and do the same at the front. Be careful though not to pull too tight when you tie tie the bezel knots together, because it could push the knots that tie the leather together and leave a gap at the top of the stone. All right, just secure your stone again to your board. And next, gently tie the first cord of the bezel to the left to your left holding cord. All right, just one more to tie off the knot. And do the same with the right bezel cord and the right holding cord. All right, now repeat the same procedure with the cords from the back. So attach the back cord with a right double half hitch to your right holding cord. Pull tight. And the left bezel cord to your left holding cord with a left double half hitch. Right, your bezel is now securely in place and should stay put. Lastly, attach your left holding cord to your right holding cord with a right double half hitch to close off the first row. And that's it. Take another cord E and begin another row by tying cord 1 to it with a left double half hitch. Tie all of the brown cords, which is cords 1 to 9, to cord E with left double half hitches. Take filler cord F, fold it in half and attach it to cord 10, which is the first beige cord, with a reverse lark's head knot. Next, continue knotting the row as you would have if you had not attached an extra cord. Tie cord 10 to cord E with a left double half hitch. Using the two filler cords, tie a half hitch with each to cords 11 to 20, which is 11 rows in total, including the row with a lark's head knot. Next, tie cords 11 to 20 to cord E with left double half hitches to continue the row around the stone. Now it's time to widen the fill. To do this, tie a double half hitch with the first and a half hitch with a second filler cord to cords 21 to 24, which is 4 rows in total. Once you have done this, again continue the row around the stone by tying cords 21 to 24 to cord E with left double half hitches. Next, we are going to bring the fill to its widest point. To do this, tie a double half hitch with the first and a double half hitch with the second filler cord to cords 25 to 34, which is 10 rows in total. And then tie cords 25 to 34 to cord E with left double half hitches to continue the row around the stone. Now it's time to reduce the width of the fill. To do this, we are going to reverse the same procedure as we have done to widen the fill. Tie a double half hitch with the first and a half hitch with the second filler cord to cords 35 to 38, again 4 rows. Then tie cords 35 to 38 to cord E with left double half hitches. Now we are going to reduce the fill to its narrowest width. To do this, we are going to again attach each filler cord with a half hitch, just like we have done when we started the fill on the left. Tie each filler cords to cord 39 to 49, which is 11 rows in total. Then tie cords 35 to 49 to cord E with left double half hitches. Now we're done with the two filler cords, so set them aside. Next, Tie cords 50 to 58 to cord E with left double half hitches to complete the row around the stone. The ends of cord E have now become cord 1 and cord 60. Lastly, tie cord 60 to cord 1 with a right double half hitch to close off the row. Now we're going to knot the last row around the stone. To do this, take your last of the cords E and tie cords 1 to 10 to it with left double half hitches. Let's continue by adding the decorations. Now we are going to create another kind of fill. The only difference here is that we are going to be using seed beads instead of a cord to create it. Add dark gold 11-odd seed beads to cords 11 to 21, which is 11 beads in total. Then tie cords 11 to 21 to cord E with left double half hitches to continue the row around the stone just like you have done with the first fill. Now add dark gold 8-odd seed beads to cords 22 to 25, which is 4 beads in total. Then tie cords 22 to 25 to cord E with left double half hitches to continue the row around the stone. Add gold 6-odd seed beads to the cords as shown here. The wider the radius around the stone, the bigger the gap between cords. To counter this, we will fill these gaps with beads. You could also attach more cords, but in this instance, beads were better suited. Add an 8-odd dark gold seed bead to cord E, then tie cords 26 and 27 to cord E with a left double half hitch. Repeat this step. Add a 8-odd seed bead after knotting each of the following cord pairs. Pair 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Then, as before, knot these cords to cord E with a left double half hitch to seal off the row. Now add dark gold 8-odd seed beads to cords 36 to 39, which is 4 beads in total. Again, it's the same as on the other side. We are going to narrow the bead fill again. Next, tie cords 36 to 39 to cord E with left double half hitches to continue the row around the stone. Now we're going to narrow the fill again, and to do this we're going to add, just like on the other side, dark gold 11-odd seed beads to cords 40 to 50, again 11 beads. Then tie cords 40 to 50 to cord E with left double half hitches to continue the row around the stone. Now we're nearly done with our third and last row. Tie the remaining cords 51 to 60 to cord E with left double half hitches. The ends of cord E have now become cords 1 on the left and 62 on the right. This time, do not tie cord 62 to cord 1. We need this last row to stay open to complete the pattern. Move to the bottom left of your project. Knot cords 22 to 24 to cord 21 with left double half hitches. Tie cord 23 to cord 24 with a right double half hitch. This reverses the knotting direction. Tie cord 21 to cord 22 with a right double half hitch. Then tie cord 22 to cord 21 with a left double half hitch, again to reverse knotting direction. Next, tie cord 23 to cord 22 with another left double half hitch. Tie cord 24 to cord 23 with a left double half hitch. Tie cord 25 to cord 24 with another left double half hitch. And lastly, tie cord 26 to cord 25 with a left double half hitch. Tie cords 26 to 29 to cord 25 with a left double half hitch. Tie cord 28 to cord 29 with a right double half hitch. This reverses the knotting direction. Next, add dark gold 11-odd seed beads to cord 22 and 1 8-odd dark gold seed bead to cord 23 respectively. Tie cord 26 to cord 27 with a right double half hitch. This will create the other end of the first loop we are going to tie. Tie cords 25 to 22 to cord 26 with right double half hitches. This will attach the cords with the beads. Next, tie cord 23 to cord 22 with a left double half hitch. Tie cords 24 and 25 to cord 23 with left double half hitches. Then add a 6 mm faceted gold bead to cord 26. Now that the faceted bead is in place, we are going to continue to knot a row around it. To do this, first tie cord 26 to cord 25 with a left double half hitch. Continue the row by knotting cord 27 to cord 26 with another left double half hitch. Then tie cord 28 to cord 27 with another left double half hitch. Now we have closed off the circle and we need to attach the last cord. So tie cord 29 to cord 28 with a left double half hitch. Next, add the following seed beads to the cords as shown in the picture. 2 11-odd dark gold seed beads to cords 16 and 17, 2 8-odd dark gold seed beads to cords 18 and 19, and 1 6-odd gold seed bead to cord 20. Tie cords 12 to 20 to cord 11 with left double half hitches. This will create a new row and secure the beads in place. Tie plus minus 6 lark's head knots by using cord 19 as your working cord and cord 20 as your holding cord. By plus minus, I simply mean a lark's head knot column that's not too long and not too short. It all depends how tight you make each knot. I have included a knotting tutorial for a lark's head knot in the following pages. Once you have created a lark's head knot column, tie cords 21 to cord 20 with a left double half hitch. This will fix your lark's head knot column to your project. This is another variation of the lark's head knot. We are going to be using this variation to attach a jump ring and findings at the end of our project. To tie this variation, loop your cord over, then under the jump ring, bringing the tail end over through the left. Next, feed the end under and then up through the jump ring. Next, feed that end through the small loop at the top. And finally, pull tight. Add 3 6-odd gold seed beads to cord 21. Tie cords 22 to 28 to cord 21 with left double half hitches. Mirror everything we have done in the decoration section on the other side, starting with cord 40. Remember that the knots will also be mirrored, e.g. what is a left double half hitch on the left will be a right double half hitch on the right, and vice versa. Thread beads onto the following cord pairs. 2 8-odd dark gold seed beads on cords 28 and 29, 2 8-odd dark gold seed beads on cord 32 and 33, 1 8-odd dark gold seed bead and 1 6mm faceted gold bead onto cord 30 and 31. Tie cord 31 to cord 32 with a right double half hitch, and then tie cord 30 to cord 29 with a left double half hitch. Tie cord 30 to cord 31 with only a half hitch. This is to make the following row smoother when running over this part and ensures that those two rows meet evenly. Tie cords 25 to 27 to cord 24 with left double half hitches. Add 3 11-odd dark gold seed beads to cord 27, then tie cords 28 to 30 to it with left double half hitches. Repeat these steps on the right hand side, starting with cord 37. Again, tie cord 30 to cord 31 with only a half hitch. Add 3 11-odd seed beads to cord 35, then tie cord 34 to 31 to it with right double half hitches. Add 3 11-odd seed beads to cord 26, then tie cords 27 to 30 to it with left double half hitches. And to close off the last row, tie cord 30 to cord 31 with a right double half hitch. You can now close off the last row using a double half hitch because we are not going to create any following rows. This is the last part of the decoration. Add 1 6-odd gold seed bead to cord 18. Next, tie cords 12 to 18 to cord 11 with left double half hitches. Halfway there, we're going to continue by tying the neck piece. Rotate your work so that the cords of the neck piece are facing you. We are now working with the brown cords 1 to 11 on the right. Next, add the following beads. 1 11-odd dark gold seed bead to cord 7 and 8, 1 8-odd dark gold seed bead to cords 9 and 10, and 1 6-odd gold seed bead to cord 11. Once you have done this, tie cord 2 to cord 1 with a left double half hitch. This reverses the knotting direction and allows the previous row to continue in the opposite direction. Tie cords 2 to 11 to cord 1 with left double half hitches. This will continue the previous row in the opposite direction. It would be useful at this point to use a needle. Pin it at the center of the fold. This will ensure a nice and even bend. Repeat the previous steps twice more. Once done, you should have 3 beaded rows. Without any beads, tie cords 2 to 11 to cord 1 with left double half hitches. This will create a new row. Next, set aside cord 1 and tie cords 3 to 11 to cord 2 with left double half hitches. The cords set aside are no longer counted in the following rows. Repeat the previous step and tie 2 more rows, 3 in total. Then set aside cord 1. Next, tie cord 3 to 10 to cord 2 with left double half hitches. Before tying off the final knot, add a brown magatama teardrop bead to cord 10. Tie 4 more rows, 5 rows in total. Then set aside cord 1 and tie cords 3 to 9 to cords 2 with left double half hitches. Add a brown magatama teardrop bead to cord 9 before knotting it. Without setting aside any more cords, repeat these steps until you have tied 5 additional segments of 5 rows each. The segments are each separated by a magatama seed bead as shown in the previous steps. Do not add a seed bead to the last segment. We now need to even out the slant to be able to knot the spiral knot column. You could do this without having a parallel starting point, but it would not look as tidy. To start this process, tie cords 2 to 5 to cord 1 with left double half hitches. Tie cords 2 and 3 to cord 1 with left double half hitches. And lastly, tie cords 2 to cord 1 with another left double half hitch. You should now have a nice even line to start your spiral knot column from. Tie 5 spiral knots. Add a golden magatama seed bead to cords 1 and 7 before tying a 6th spiral knot. Now repeat these steps until you have 8 spiral knot column segments. Do not add magatama beads to the last segment. If you need help with tying a spiral knot, you can find the knotting instruction for it in the following pages. To tie a spiral knot column, fold cord 1 over cords 2 and 3 to create a shape that looks like a 4. Fold cord 4 first over cord 1, then feed it under cords 1, 3 and 2 and up through the loop, and finally pull tight. Simply repeat this step until the desired length is reached. Repeat these steps until the desired length is reached. Nearly done. In this section I will show you how to finish off your project and attach your jump ring and charms. Before attaching the jump ring to our pattern, it's best to add the chains and findings to your jump ring first. It is sometimes easier to mount these before the cord covers the jump ring. This enables you to knot over the split in the ring, therefore hiding it as well. I have made it a habit to always do this first. Attach your cords to the jump ring as shown in the knotting guide on the following pages. Start by attaching the innermost cords. This will center the jump ring. Then alternate attaching the cords to the left and right to keep it centered. This is another variation of the lark's head knot. We are going to be using this variation to attach a jump ring and findings at the end of our project. To tie this variation, loop your cord over, then under the jump ring, bringing the tail end over through the left. Next, feed the end under and then up through the jump ring. Next, feed that end through the small loop at the top, and finally pull tight. Before trimming off any cords, I like to go over the project and tie an extra knot to cords that I feel could come undone, though this is not really necessary. Once adhesive is applied or the cords were burnt, they tend to hold the knots very well. Now that we have completed the project, it's time to trim off the excess cords. The procedure for waxed cords is to gently trim off the excess cords with a sharp pair of scissors. Don't leave the ends too long, as longer ends, even though they will melt away, tend to blacken when burnt and look unsightly. If you cut too close to the knots, they will unravel when heated, as waxed cord becomes very soft before eventually hardening. Once all of the excess cord has been cut off, use a lighter to briefly heat up the trimmed ends to melt the wax. A useful tip for waxed cord projects is to heat it in the oven for a short period of time, just enough to soften the wax. Be careful though not to do this for too long, as your work can melt and be ruined in seconds if it gets too hot. 5 minutes at about 150 degrees Celsius or 302 degrees Fahrenheit will do the trick. Apart from curing your work, heating brings out the color in waxed cord beautifully. Once done, set your work aside and let it cool for about 10 minutes. This will allow for it to harden and prevent your work from coming apart. For unwaxed types of cord, procedure is a little more straightforward. In this case, you will have to apply the glue before trimming off the excess cords. Once you have applied the adhesive, let your project dry for a few minutes. Now gently cut off the cords as closely to the knots as possible, as not to leave any ugly ends sticking out. And this is it. Give yourself a pat on the back and enjoy wearing your new handmade necklace. If you have enjoyed this class, I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for taking my Angel Wings necklace class. We have learned how to tie a variety of knots, including how to tie a lark's head knot column, a spiral knot column, and how to bezel a stone. We have also learned how to work a chain into your design and how to finish off your project to keep it from unraveling. The skills you have learned in this class can be used to create a multitude of different patterns, and I hope you will explore with what we have done and create many beautiful pieces of your own design. And here is exactly the same Angel Wings necklace in a different color. All I have done is switch the colors of cord around. The brown and beige are now green and white. And instead of a tiger's eye gemstone bead, I have used a malachite bead.